If you're thinking about driving to Alaska, this video is for you. I drove from Michigan to Alaska in my 2008 Lexus GX470, over 12,000 miles through some of the wildest landscapes in North America. It cost more than I expected, and the mosquitoes were straight up terrible, but it was all worth it in the end. Let's break it down. What's going on? I'm Jack, and as some of you guys know, the Alaska series just ended on YouTube. So this is a road trip recap from Michigan to Alaska. A lot of you guys asked for the route we took, where we went to see, how much it cost, so let's get right into it. The whole route we took on this road trip was pretty intense. It was a lot of driving. I believe it was in between 12,000 and 14,000 miles, somewhere in that ballpark. But we already had to drive from Michigan to Denver to start our trip, and then that's where our trip really started. I'll pop up an overview of our road trip right here. We kind of planned it around national parks. We didn't really have any set dates to where we wanted to go, so we had flexibility if we wanted to stay another day somewhere, go somewhere else. Our route was pretty self-explanatory. We just went up to Grand Tetons and then up to Glacier, and then all the Canadian national parks that are in British Columbia, Alberta area. Those ones are amazing. Highly recommend. You could easily spend 2 weeks there, but from Jasper, there's really nothing until you get to Alaska. There's a couple things like some hot springs and some cool lakes to check out, but we just drove straight through the Alaskan Highway, one of the craziest roads. Not the best well kept, but it was definitely an experience. But in Alaska, we hit 3 national parks: Denali National Park, Kenai Fjords National Park, and Wrangell St. Elias. The other national parks in Alaska, they're either super hard to get to or you have to take a bush plane to them. After Alaska, we drove right back down to the United States, and our only stop was Telkwa Pass, a super sick off-road trail in British Columbia. And then we went back to the States, hit Mount Baker, North Cascades National Park, and Olympic National Park, and then we were on to the coast. From the coast, we really just surfed and enjoyed the ocean for a lot of the time until we went to San Francisco, and then ended up in Yosemite National Park to hike Half Dome and explore the national park some more. And now we were coming down to the end of our trip, so we decided to go to the Bonneville Salt Flats for Speed Week, and then shortly after, followed by Moab, another off-road spot that was truly amazing. That's really the whole route we took. I will include a link to this route in the description of this video if you want to follow it or modify it in any way to your liking. Next up is some highlights from the trip. 3 things I highly recommend are doing the highway to Jasper National Park. The highway is absolutely stunning. There's views for miles, and there's just mountains, glaciers, lakes, forests, everything you could ask for on one highway drive, and it's filled with breathtaking views. Next thing I recommend, if you have an off-road capable car, Telkwa Pass. That was the most beautiful pass I've ever done. It had amazing waterfalls, lakes, and the trail was pretty rough, but if you have a capable car, well worth it. There is some people that did it in a van. I don't know how they did it, because our cars we didn't really struggle, but there was a couple spots where it was like, it could have got pretty rough. Last thing I recommend is spending a lot of time in Alaska, because as soon as we left Alaska, we realized we should have spent more time there because it's so hard to get to unless you fly. There's a lot to see in Alaska. We didn't get to do the one highway. I believe it's called the Dempster Highway, that goes north almost to the Arctic Circle, or I believe it does go to the Arctic Circle. We wish we did that, but overall we wish we spent some more time in Alaska, so it was amazing. Now, the car that we took. We took a 2008 Lexus GX470, and also we had I believe it's a 2019 Toyota Tacoma. Might be wrong in the year, but I'll pop some B-roll up of the cars right now. They both did amazing. They weren't extremely modified, but they were pretty modified. We both had pretty big lifts. The Lexus had a 3-inch lift, and it was on 35s. Same with the Toyota. It was also on 35s. Neither of us had rear lockers or any of that stuff, or re-geared. All we had was our center locking diffs and our 4x4 capabilities, but it got us through everywhere that we needed to go. We actually never got stuck once on the trip. As far as comfort, the GX is one of the most comfortable cars for a road trip, I'd say. Even though it was heavily modified and had 35s on it, it still drove like it was a brand new Lexus off the floor. Granted, your gas mileage isn't going to be that good, but that's not what you're traveling for, is to save money on gas. Overall experience with the Lexus, 10 out of 10. If I were to take another car other than the GX, which I probably wouldn't because I just love the GX. It'd probably either be a 4Runner or a Tacoma, a newer one. I really love the newer Tacomas and the GX550s, but those are a little bit pricey. So maybe a couple years down the road, we'll get to experience that. Now it's time for my not so favorite part, the cost of the trip. The most asked question about the trip is probably how much did you spend in gas? For about 12 to 14,000 miles of driving, some heavy off-roading, and basically driving across North America, we spent right around $4,000 in gas per car. But if you have people with you like we did, you can divide that number up. So it ended up being roughly $1,000 to $1,500 each in gas for 2.5 months of traveling. And you could have a car that gets better fuel economy. Ours didn't really have good fuel economy. I believe we were probably averaging around 13 miles per gallon. Food, food's a difficult one to put a price on. We would cook all of our own food. We brought grills, propane grills, bought all our food from the grocery stores, put them in refrigerators, actually coolers. We didn't have refrigerators. And I would say that ranged, it didn't go over $100 a week. It was definitely under $100 a week. We did eat out sometimes, but most of our meals came from what we cooked. Also, don't forget National Parks Pass. I believe it's around $150. I'll pop up a picture right here, but I'm not sure on the exact price. But the nice thing about having rooftop tents is you don't have to pay for lodging, so that is one of the biggest expenses of traveling. And with a rooftop tent, you have your humble abode right above you. You don't really have many expenses other than food and gas, unless you're doing some expenditures like kayaking, something, going on a fishing charter, for example. So what's nice about having a car, you can really go anywhere and you can experience what you want for free. If you're looking to do this trip, I would go between June and August, maybe even September, but those are relatively the best dates to go. The bugs in Alaska do get very bad in the summertime, so just be aware of that. There were some times where we would get out of our tents in the morning and there would just be thousands of mosquitoes surrounding our tent. That's no joke, thousands of mosquitoes. Also plan for long stretches of no service, which in my opinion is a good thing because you can just get the surrounding areas. The Alaskan highway was very patchy with service, so our maps wouldn't work at times, so make sure you have downloaded maps as well. One of the coolest parts about our trip was being in Alaska. The sun never really went down when we went there. For about a good majority of the day, the sun would just crest on the horizon, but it wouldn't actually go down. So it'd be 4 a.m. in the morning, and it'd still be bright outside, which was amazing because you could just see more. The day really never ends. The one drawback from that was sleeping. Sometimes sleeping was rough because it was still bright outside, but it's all part of the experience. In my opinion, it's definitely one of the most rewarding trips that you can do in North America. Driving to Alaska is something that I never thought I'd be doing, and it was definitely one of the best experiences in my life. With that being said, thanks for watching, and shout out to everyone that dropped questions about the trip. Let me know in the comments if you have any more questions or want me to break down the gear that we brought on this trip. Make sure you subscribe because there's a lot more exciting news coming. We have another car build coming to the channel shortly, and a couple more travels that I've did within my time from the Alaska trip. With that being said, we'll see you.